Sure. Okay, so I'm not sure if the folks that are joining us today were a part of the first series, but this is a series of 4 different meetings that we are having. This is sponsored by Synergy and also Grow North. So I thank Angel and also Tommy Wortman for really supporting the work that we're doing. Before I kick off our presentation, I just also wanted to introduce Stephanie. Stephanie, I see that you are on the call. Would you mind saying hello to the group and kind of explaining your role, if you wouldn't mind?
Absolutely. So, hi, I'm Stephanie DeFries. I'm with CISA 5. I work mainly with our youth apprenticeship students, but I also help with the North Central Regional Career Pathways.
Thanks, Stephanie. So our work in really the North Central region of the state, we all have different roles with CISAs, and we kind of covered the roles of CISA at our last series. And my work, as well as Stephanie's work, and many of the CISAs have similar roles, is to really help students within our districts support really career readiness programming. So we're going to talk a little bit deeper about that today. So let me just share my screen with you. And hopefully you're seeing the presentation, ACP and RCP. Perfect. Okay. So our agenda today is to really understand the concepts of academic and career planning, which is also referred to lovingly as ACP, and also regional career pathways, or RCP. We love acronyms in education, so we like to speak a lot of letters. So if during our presentation today I use letters that you are not familiar with, please stop me and interject and ask questions. What I just wanted to kind of start with is, what is your baseline understanding and what can you do to support your local district? So what I'm hoping to do or understand just kind of in the outset is people's baseline understanding of these concepts. And then also by the end of our presentation that you're able to think about what you can do as a partner in this work to help support, because there is a lot of efforts that are happening within districts and within CISAs to support this work, but we also need business and industry. They're huge players in supporting and exposing students to career exploration and experiences. So we're hoping that this kind of generates some thought from that perspective. So I'm going to pause. We have a smaller group so we can have a little bit of discussion. With the group right now, is there anything that you'd like to share as far as like some of the information that you might know about these topics? Not that you have to like give an overview or anything, but have you heard of these topics before? And if so, in what capacity and kind of what space? If you wouldn't mind sharing that. And if you haven't, just tell us you haven't, and then we'll get going.
I used to be with Portage County Business Council. So as part of that, we developed a youth leadership program there, and hopefully, you know, some schools use it as part of their academic and career planning for the students. Now I do my own leadership and culture training. I'm a consultant, and what I hear from the businesses a lot is we don't need our future employees to learn the skill how to make the widget or do the service, but we need them the power skills or soft skills or leadership type skills. And I think both of these obviously can take a role in that, both these programs.
Yeah, isn't that the truth? We hear that a lot from business and industry. And you know, with AI coming out now too, it's just a matter of time before really a lot of roles are repurposed, and that's going to make those employability and soft skills all the more important. So thanks, Todd, for sharing. Yeah. Is there anyone else in the group that would like to share?
Good morning. I'm Michelle Klein. I'm from Junior Achievement, North Central Wisconsin, in Wausau. And so my director asked me to step on. We obviously support schools and education in financial literacy, entrepreneurship, and work readiness. So we want to kind of, you know, view this and see how maybe we can get involved and help the school districts and teachers, you know, where there might be holes or things that we can do and support the, you know, that whole idea of the career and work readiness. So
Thanks for joining us, Michelle. And definitely you are referred to quite often in ACP plans, especially more in that middle school group of students.
yeah,
I know, yeah. And with the personal finance requirement that's coming down the pike for
right.
our high school, I'm sure that, you know, more folks might want to tap into the resources that you share along those lines too.
Right. We definitely have a whole semester program actually. So that's ideally meant to be teacher led. A lot of our programs are like 6 sessions to introduce, you know, concepts to kids.
Mhm.
But for the high school level, we do have that full program. So I know
Nice.
the corporate or whatever the J Wisconsin has been kind of introducing that. And I just sent an email to, you know, to area principals so that they knew that it was there and it's free.
Mhm.
So might as well at least take a look at it, right?
Right, right. And, you know, if you can be a part of, you know, DPI's development of that curriculum, that might not be a bad
Yeah,
idea
I
either.
know
So,
that our JA Wisconsin folks, so one of the people that I work with, they actually work with DPI, so things are
excellent.
all in line, so it's good.
Good, good. I'm a
Sorry
big
for not having
believer.
my camera on.
Oh,
It's
that's
not
okay.
working, so I apologize.
That's okay. That's okay. Anyone else want to share kind of your baseline knowledge or experience or thoughts on ACP and RCP at this point in time?
So this is Denise Krieger. I work for J.H. Findorf and Son, who is a local contractor, construction manager.
Okay.
And I have personally been in touch with school counselors in our area, a couple of high schools and some tech colleges, because we run the youth apprenticeship when we can, when we have the work available. And of course, that's going to be a construction trade. Specifically for us, it's the carpentry.
Excellent. We love those opportunities for students. So thank you, Denise, for you and your company supporting that. Great experiences for students. That's a program that Stephanie shared that she supports. I actually support 2 consortiums as well. And I personally love it because I get to work with students, I get to work with districts, and I get to work with employers in that program. So it's a really nice blend. And you see the growth of students like from that junior year, if they stay in it for 2 years, by the time that you know they're closing out their senior year, they're just a different person. And it's really neat to see. So thank you. Tara, is there anything that you wanted to share? I saw you were off mute.
Yeah, so we do a career exploration day at the high school. We actually did one in December, but we are doing another one in April. So we bring businesses into the high school, and grades 9 through 11 or 12 are required to come through and visit with the businesses, see what opportunities they have available. I think it's important to get out there what is available in the area for, you know, both just summer work, career type work, what they can do after high school. We usually have the educational organizations come also, so they can talk about apprenticeships and things like that. So I think one big thing, kind of repeating what you guys said, is the teachers and the counselors do talk a lot about career readiness and how that would help even at that type of a program. So we have some businesses that are interested in going in and teaching in the schools if time allows in their classes. So
Okay. And, you know, definitely from the state level, the Department of Public Instruction is really pushing what we call career-based learning experiences, which is any way that students can connect with business and industry. And that is something that we're going to hear more and more of. There's actually a cable tracking tool. Again, we use acronyms, so cable, career-based learning experience. There's a cable tracking tool where we are now asking our districts to track how many different experiences are you having with business and industry and how many students are exposed to that, because right now there's really not a great way to collect that data. So that's kind of a new venture to kind of see where that's at. And the reason for that is because we're really trying to look at it from an equity lens. So are all districts, urban, rural, suburban, having the same opportunities? And if not, what can our state do to make some changes to create more equity?
Sure.
So Tara, I don't know if you said, and if you did, I'm sorry if I missed it. Where are you from?
Oh, the Mosinee Area Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, I
apologize.
figured it was a chamber, but I didn't know exactly where. So thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you guys all for sharing. It's more, I get something out of kind of learning from you as well. And I think learning from each other is always a good thing. So I will get back to our presentation, but please feel free. Like I said, we have a smaller group, so please feel free to jump in and ask questions as we go along. You can also put them in the chat, and Angel will be kind of monitoring that for us. So one of the things that I think is good for us to kind of talk about and recognize is that all career paths do not have to be linear. I just ran into this article, and this particular author really focuses in on looking at zigzag paths, is what she calls it. And I think more and more we are going to see students have these zigzag paths. What we once knew as far as that loyalty or that seniority within a company or business was something that was really, really coveted. And now it's looking a little bit different as far as future careers. We're expecting our students to have 6 to 8 different, very vastly different careers in their lifetime. And many of the careers that they're going to be pursuing, obviously, we don't even know what they are yet because they haven't yet been developed. And as mentioned before with AI, that's kind of really shifting the gears of different roles that are out there. So just kind of getting us to think about things a little bit differently. And I just ask you to give this some thought, and we don't have to share out loud, but who was that most influential person that helped you with your current success in your career? So many of us have had the pleasure of having mentors and influential folks in our lives. And I sometimes think that, we need to kind of pause and think about who was that person. What we know from our educational side of the fence is many educators are trying to be that influential person for our students. Students aren't always seeing and accepting that person. And that's why sometimes those business folks that are our partners are also welcomed into the conversation, because they also could potentially be that person that's going to really make a student pivot and see things a little bit differently as far as maybe their strengths or their future, and how that looks for them. So in thinking about kind of those influential folks, one of the things that we think about from the DPI lens is they're really pushing that idea of career readiness. And what we know is that all of our students within the state of Wisconsin come from different families and different backgrounds and have maybe have or don't have different support systems. So what we need to think about is the influencers that we all had, our students might not have. So how can we make sure that our students, from this picture or this meme that you're seeing, how can we make sure that we're supporting them so that they're all kind of having that same equity, the same size ladders, holes in their apple picking bags? What can we do to kind of level that playing field so that students can move forward and have more career success? And it's really focusing on that equity lens. And that equity lens kind of plays out from that career readiness perspective that DPI is really trying to equally mandate throughout all of our schools. So that overarching goal of what we're trying to achieve is really career readiness. The process to achieve that career readiness is through the academic and career planning tool, which is a requirement for students in grades 6 through 12. And we'll talk a little bit more about that today. As we look at pathways are going to focus specifically on a business and industry sector and roles within that sector. That pathway could be kind of a ready-made academic and career plan for a student. And as students are experiencing those pathways, we want them to have that connection with employers, and that's through those cables or those career-based learning experiences. And maybe they're taking classes that are leading them to be able to earn an industry recognized certificate. That's what we call an IRC. Some industry recognized certificates that most people are kind of more familiar with might be something like a nursing assistant certificate, a personal care worker, OSHA 10, OSHA 30. There's a Microsoft certificate, a mouse certificate for Microsoft. So there's a variety of different certificates that students can actually earn while they're in high school. And it's great for students to be able to do that. We have some high schools that are actually bringing students beyond certificates, and they're completing technical diplomas and associate degrees while they're still in high school. Xello and Inspire becomes the tool that students use to do some exploration, to figure out some self-discovery on where are they at, what are their interests and strengths, and how does that translate into careers. So academic and career planning, really the purpose of this is to assist students with planning and preparing for opportunities after high school. They may include post-secondary education and training that leads to careers. So what really the state is looking at is to try to help students have a plan after high school. That plan could be education, it could be careers, it could be military, but really students having some focus after high school. When we look at kind of that state mandate, if you will, this is, I had a district that just reached out to me yesterday, kind of a funny story. They said, we want to present to all of our teachers and staff because they think that ACP is like an extracurricular activity, like it's optional. And indeed, it is not optional. It is state legislature. It is law. And so that law behind academic and career planning is introduced in PI 26, which is the legislative action that really outlines the requirement for a program called Education for Employment. And ACP is really nestled underneath that Education for Employment. So those things are paired together. So we do have academic and career planning that is that requirement for grade 6 through 12, but even K through 5, there are some elements of that Education for Employment plan where students are required to do some exploration and such. So one of the things that I like to think about, this was explained to me when I first started in this role, and it kind of made all the sense in the world to me. So each district has to have what's called an academic and career plan. So they have to have an ACP plan within their district. It has to be approved by their school board. It has to be on their website. And basically what it does is it lays out what are they doing for students in each grade level? What is the scope and sequence of what they're doing? And how are students receiving that advisory on academic and career planning? So the kind of the ultimate goal is as a student completes, they might have, and this is not a requirement, but a lot of districts have a culminating project or a portfolio that they have to present when they're seniors, or a presentation that they have to present to say, here's my journey of ACP. This is what I learned. This is my plan after high school. This is what impacted me. These are the experiences that I've had. And the idea of it is that is the product, right? That's the product that the student creates as a part of that process. But this is also a process, right? Because as mentioned, all paths are not linear. There's zigzags. And truly, students are going to need to kind of redo this process throughout their lives as they're maybe having some job changes or some life changes where maybe they can't do a certain job anymore because of family or because of health or a variety of different reasons. So it's just as important for students to have that plan after high school as it is for them to understand how to recreate that plan moving forward and use those skills to maybe rebalance some of their skills and attributes and move them towards a different career. So at the district level, there is definitely a need for collaboration. It is necessary for districts to really work on this plan and keep it fresh, keep looking at the plan and making sure that it's a part of their continuous improvement as a district. Most districts put together what's called a career readiness team, and then they look at their ACP plan, they look at their pathways, and they look at all their activities, and they figure out what's working and what's not. What are some things that maybe they didn't adopt out of the gate with their first plan that they want to add to in years to come? And this screen really kind of identifies the folks that are a part of that team. This is kind of the pie in the sky group of folks that would be on a team. In smaller districts, we might have one person that takes on 3 or 4 of those roles. So the teams might be a little bit smaller in some of our smaller rural districts. But you can see that there also is representation from students, from families, from business and industry, from sometimes our nonprofit sector or our community business organization. So those are all folks that we want to make sure are a part of that fold and a part of really building a good plan. So when we bring those groups together, really that team is to really encourage that input from students. And it's not just that student that's on the team. We also want districts to do some surveying of students that are actually within the district on things that are going well and things that are not. Are they learning from this experience? What are they liking? What are they not liking? There's really a need to engage with families. So the families need to understand what's happening in the school. Otherwise, I serve on a school board within my community, and I certainly don't want our community members to say the district is not doing anything for our students, to prepare for their future. I never, ever want to hear that. And really the idea of really this whole mission of this work is to make sure that that is not happening. Are there still going to be students who flounder a little bit? There's people that flounder in life at all ages. So yes, that is going to happen. But again, just making sure that we're wrapping around the right resources to help students. And then of course, the engagement with employers, as I've been mentioning. So I just wanted to share with you kind of what an example of a ACP looks like at a school. So I'm just pulling up Wisconsin Rapids. You can see on the website, they kind of cover what is academic and career planning. They just talk about, kind of the same definition that is provided by the state level. It's a plan to help students have a decision, post-graduation on what they actually want to do. They have a video, have a parent guide, they have an actual plan, and then they also have a website. So that kind of shows a little bit more information than, parents and community members can kind of click through that and see what's all available in here. And they talk about the different grade levels. So if you wanted to see what's happening in grade level 10, it tells you kind of what's called the scope and sequence. So it tells you the grade level experiences. So they're going to have a career cluster showcase at Mid-State. So again, those post-secondary partners might be a part of this. A program showcase, college tours, visits with military, visits with college and university recruiters, dual credit, a teen job fair, maybe that's involving, their local chamber. And then it's talking about ACP time. So this is the time that they are having with their teachers. And it talks about the different things that they're doing in that time. And then also the counselor is going to have some more specific time where they're going to conference with them and talk about their plan. And it talks about who is assigned to what student. And then co-curriculars, because co-curriculars are definitely a part of that experience as well. That's a little bit of what a plan might look like. And you can certainly kind of look through that information as you move forward. So I just wanted to take a pause here and ask the group, have you had any, for those of you that might have children or relatives that within the school district or through your business and industry involvement, have you seen an ACP plan or understood kind of the concepts of what is entailed in what those plans look like?
I have a child who just graduated high school and is attending his first year of college, and another one who's a junior. And I have never heard of this.
You've never heard of it? Oh. No. So when you go home or next time you talk to someone at school, ask them specifically more about that. That's unfortunate that you haven't heard. And I'm surprised, but kind of not surprised, Denise, because one of the things that our districts probably aren't super great at is marketing and advertising of their plans. And that's one of the things that we're really trying to promote, because what we know is that students learn best about career readiness from teachers, but they go home and they talk to families about it. So the more information that as a parent, as to what's going on at school, you can kind of reinforce that or know and understand, kind of where they're coming from, so that you're not being repetitive of that information with your children, but you're trying to say, okay, let's take it, a step further, because of course, your child better than anyone. So what district are you from, Denise?
We're in the Wausau School District.
Wausau, okay. And we work very closely with John Winter, who is the Career and Technical Education Coordinator. So they definitely do have a lot going on. They have actual career centers within their high schools. So I don't know if your students have spent any time in there.
So I think part of the issue is that they both decided that they were going to college, and then that was it. There was no more.
Okay.
That was the plan.
Mm.
But that was it. It wasn't, what do you want to study in college? It wasn't, I can recall that in junior high, they did one of those assessments, what are your interests that you had referred to earlier. But I don't see that coming back
Okay.
at the high school level.
Okay.
It was more about, hey, get a high grade at GPA and take the AP classes. And that was about as much as we got.
Yeah. And, it is unfortunate because there's kind of something that happens that is not intentional, and that's tracking of students. So when students are kind of on that 4-year university track, a lot of times to be competitive, to try to be able to meet the requirements of their said university that they're applying for, they need to make sure that they're, meeting those requirements that you're talking about, the higher GPA, the ACT, but that shouldn't take the place of that career readiness opportunities. Because what we know is sometimes students go to 4-year institutions and they decide they don't like it, or they decide that's not for them, and they end up in careers or in a 2-year technical college, and then they kind of need to restart that wheel. So I think bringing students back to kind of the reality of understanding where are you at from your interest, from your assessments that you completed, and sometimes redoing those assessments is helpful for students too. I see Stephanie nodding. Anything you want to share, Steph?
Well, coming from a school district and being the person that was kind of being one of the main constructors of the E4E plan, I hear what you're saying, and it is hard to market it to parents and stuff. I was thankful that I was in a much smaller school, so we were able to meet with our parents and stuff, but I can see where that miscommunication and misinformation comes through, because there's a lot of work being done in the schools, but it gets lost in the translation to through our students and stuff, unfortunately. So yeah.
Yes, relying on a teenager to relay any information is absolutely horrifying.
I have 2 teenagers at home, so I can totally relate to that. All right. I'm just going to bring us back to the presentation again. Thank you guys for sharing. One of the things, and I'm actually not going to play this video just because in the essence of time that we have, one of the things that we kind of have to focus on is the why behind ACP. And we have to really focus on the why, because the work of academic and career planning and career readiness is not just the work of a counselor, it's the work of every single teacher. So the way that the best kind of laid out plan of ACP is to have an advisory time and to have a student assigned to a teacher. If that student can stay with that teacher for kind of that 4 years of high school, that is most ideal, because then that teacher gets to know who that student is and can kind of see that growth and progress and help them accordingly. But many of our teachers are not necessarily, they're trained in their content area. So if I'm a science teacher, I'm very heavy in the sciences and math and labs, but career readiness, that's not really where my foundation is. So we're asking teachers to do things that sometimes they're not as comfortable with. So with that comes trying to help them understand why this is important, and to really define their why, and that helping them move forward to be able to learn, explore, and learn more about their community, their business industry within the area, the post-secondary connections. And those teachers aren't expected to know everything, but they are expected to be able to connect students with resources if they don't know. So one of the things that you see looking a little bit different at our districts is really the professional development that they are exposed to. And that professional development might be curriculum based for half the day, and then maybe the other half the day they're going out to business and industry and they're doing tours of, you know, the most prominent, most in-demand businesses out there. And that helps them as far as kind of their understanding of what is happening you know, in their area, so that they can relay that to students for future careers. So Tara, as you are, you know, creating opportunities for your students for career exploration, not a bad idea to really kind of partner with districts to see, like, is there something that we could do from a PD perspective for your teachers too? Kind of those after hours type opportunities too. Maybe you do some of that already.
We don't, but I would like to start at our conferences. They talk about youth leadership and things like that. So we've been kind of toying around the idea of having either someone from the local high school on our board, or just kind of starting like a leadership program with our youth at the local high school, so that they can kind of get out there and see, and then obviously hopefully bring people in with them.
Okay, great. Sounds good. All right, so kind of where we are all at as a state from academic and career planning and career readiness is we're kind of in that after pandemic state. The requirements for ACP started back in 2017. And from there was kind of a growth in districts' understanding and their enhancements of their plan. But then, of course, the pandemic happened and then everything shut down. So that was not really a priority at that point in time. It was really more of a priority to address curriculum and mental health of students during that point in time. So the state, the Department of Public Instruction said, you know what, we're going to put a pause on this. Not that it's not important, but the expectations were just kind of at that kind of pause button. Now we are at a point where the Department of Public Instruction is really wanting us to reboot and re-energize the idea of career readiness within the high schools and within our middle schools. So what they have done is they have asked us to work with every district to do an asset map, which basically looks at what are the features of your academic and career plan? What do you have available? What's missing? And how are you interacting with business and industry, kind of what I mentioned before. And what they're hoping to do is to develop some strategic planning around those results, so that, again, they're really focusing on that equity and access for all students. I had mentioned before that there is that kind of larger education for employment requirement. And here are kind of some of the staple pieces of what we call that E4E plan. So the elementary and secondary pupils have to be prepared for future employment. They have to focus on technological literacy, lifelong learning, good citizenship, and then really kind of promoting that cooperation or that partnership with business and industry and post-secondary. So the kind of requirements of an ACP plan are in a nutshell summarized here. So there has to be some professional development for staff, as I kind of mentioned earlier. All students have to have access, and this does include students that are special needs students, students who have English language learning, and also students who might be at risk of not graduating. So focusing really in on all students, making sure that they have a plan. There should be individualized support. It should connect with labor market. So students should understand what are those in-demand jobs, those high-paying wage jobs in our community. There should be a connection with post-secondary and workforce. We definitely need family engagement and those community partnerships. We need to understand in the plan when it is happening. So that's that formal process. The scope and sequence. So you saw me click on Wisconsin Rapids grade 10. We can kind of see exactly what they're doing. And then they have to have access to some type of tool. Most of our schools are using Zello because that is a free tool that they can use to do some self-exploration and connections there. And then what we always want is that we want all of our schools to have kind of future goals and plans moving forward. So that's in a nutshell, kind of those high level things that we would be looking for in a plan. That plan needs to, again, be approved by the school board every year and then be posted on their website. Again, this is kind of that career readiness overview, that visual for you of kind of what we're looking at. And now we're going to move into talking a little bit more about career pathways. Before I do that, does anyone have questions or comments on ACP? All right. So as I mentioned before, ACP, as students figure out what they're interested in, it could naturally lead them to what we consider a career pathway. And when we look at career pathways, there's 5 components to them. There is regional career pathways and local pathways. So 4 years ago, the state of Wisconsin said, we have local pathways and we have something that used to be called programs of study. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to keep the local pathways, but we're going to focus in on having some key pathways that are state endorsed that are called regional career pathways. And with those pathways, we're going to have the same criteria or components for local, but we're going to have business and industry very involved in the development of these. And we're also going to have maps for students where they can figure out how to explore throughout kind of the state what's available, but then how can they explore in their region and directly in their high school to have experiences. And we'll take a look at what those maps look like. The components of career pathways, again, we have local and we have regional. Same components for both. Both are affiliated with a grant that is pretty prominent within our high schools called called Carl Perkins. And in order to spend the funds within Carl Perkins, you have to have pathways established in order to be able to do that. So there's connections kind of really everywhere. Everything seems to be married and intersected within career readiness. And as we look at these pathways, this visual kind of gives you an idea of what that looks like. In order to have a pathway, first you have to have classes. And the classes have to be at least 2 courses, and they have to be taught by a career and technical education teacher. And for those that don't know what career and technical education is, we call it CTE. That would be teachers that teach in the area of technical education, agriculture, family and consumer ed, marketing, business and business marketing. Probably forgetting some. What am I forgetting? Health sciences is kind of falling under the family and consumer ed. I think that might be all of them. So those are our teachers that teach really kind of more of the career specific courses. So we have to have 2 courses. Those 2 courses could be college credit courses where a high school teacher is teaching coursework that is transcripted with a technical college or UW. Students may be able to start with those 2 courses at the high school and then take some additional courses with our post-secondary partners. Students might have an opportunity to participate in work-based learning. We talked about youth apprenticeship already today. Youth apprenticeship is kind of the Cadillac of work-based learning. Students also might have the opportunity to participate in industry-recognized credentials. And then finally, also participate in organizations that relate to that pathway. So we call those career and technical student organizations. So you might have heard of Skills USA or FFA or FBLA. All of those would be organizations where students can participate. So there's 5 components. Districts have to have at least 3 in order to have a pathway. And the idea of this is if students do all of these things or 3 out of these 5 things, they're really having a deep experience in high school. They're figuring out, is it something that is of interest to me? If it's not, no time wasted. I've done some exploration in high school. If it is something that they like, they can kind of dive in a little bit deeper, which is a really great thing. So the regional career pathways that we have at the state level are listed on this slide on the left-hand side there. You can read through those. And they are looking at adding a couple more in the near future. Beth Kaminsky is our state director. So at the state level, we have a leader who kind of brings us through this. Each region is organized by economic development partners, CISAs, districts, and we have a grant that we use each year to really grow what this looks like. We are a part of the North Central region, so we have 34 districts. It runs over 10 counties. There's 3 CISAs involved, so I kind of cover and represent both CISA 8 and 9, and Stephanie covers CISA 5. We have Grow North and Synergy as our redo partners, because we really want that employer end of things being a participant in this. And these are the pathways that we have available. So you can see we are kind of moving quite long with the development of these pathways. We actually submitted hospitality, culinary, and tourism as our new pathway. So we're waiting for that feedback from the state to get that approved. And then we do have a website which lists all of the pathways that we have and the school districts that have pathways affiliated with that. So I will show you, I'm going to use Wausau because Denise talked about being affiliated with Wausau. So we'll show that as an example. So again, there's 2 pages to a pathway. The first page is really an exploration page for the student. It is organized based upon the pathway and then the subsectors of that pathway. So we have design and pre-construction, and then general construction as the 2 subsectors. On the left, we have the educational level. So as a student, I can look at this and find that if I want to go on to school, maybe I want to go on to a technical college and earn an associate degree. I can look at maybe an assistant project manager. If I click on that, it is going to bring me to a product called My Next Move, which is geared for high school students, and it's a product of ONET. And it's going to tell me all about the different knowledge, skills, and abilities, personality, technology needed, as well as education, job outlook, salary. Students are always very interested in the salary. And then I can explore more by looking at that information as well. So that gives me a little bit of information about that. And now I can go back to this first page and I can continue to cruise around and look at other roles as well. This map comes from a template from the state. And then what they do is they roll it to us as a region, and we bring in business and industry from this specific area. And we identify, are these the right roles? Do we need to add additional careers into this mix? And then we also look at the salary range to make sure that it is applicable to our North Central region of Wisconsin versus kind of the South or the far North might have different salary ranges. And then if we look at the second page is going to highlight those 5 components that I just went through and share with the student what is available at their school. So we have, it looks like about 5 classes that the student can take related to architecture. They're all listed here. There's other recommended courses that they could also take related to architecture and construction. And then they can also participate in their CTSO, Skills USA. They also have employability skills. They have youth apprenticeship. That's that leadership certificate I think you were referring to earlier. And then also the industry recognized credential is a Carpenter Training Institute Level 3 construction certificate that students can complete. And then they also have transcripted credit, carpentry and res construction and Autodesk. So this basically is an opportunity where students are meeting 5 of those components in their participation at Wausau. Now students can opt in and out of all of these. They can take the courses and choose not to take the other things. But this is really trying to promote to students, these are all of the great things that you can do to experience and expose yourself. The more that students do that, the more that they can figure out and try things on and see if it's a good fit for them. So as you can see, each of our districts have opportunities where they can look through and see, maybe they want to see who their competitors, what they're offering, or I see we have all of these, but maybe we're missing an opportunity that we want to add. Districts can also utilize some of their post-secondary courses. So we have some districts that maybe don't have a family and consumer ed teacher because they're very hard to find, and they still want to offer a health pathway or a patient care pathway to students. If they have a post-secondary partner, like their technical college usually, to offer nursing assistant and maybe a med-term course, that could serve as their 2 courses. That CTE teacher could be a technical education teacher or UW professor as well, and that could be part of their 2 courses. So there are kind of unique ways to also meet some of those criteria as well. So that is kind of the pathways in a nutshell. As indicated, it is something that relates to ACP because it's really kind of the work of getting students to that plan and that pathway that they're interested in. It reinforces the opportunity to work with business and industry, to earn credentials, to be able to maybe earn some dual credit and save some money, post-secondary wise for students. So there's a lot of really kind of huge wins for students to participate in pathways. So I'm going to pause there and see if you have any questions about pathways, because I did kind of go through that rather quickly.
Brooke, is there a like a sample or a template ACP that a student would fill out or have as part of his or her? I'm curious to see what the student sees and what they fill out and what that looks like. Is there some place we can find that?
So it would be something that would, well, let me back up. Students utilize in middle school and in high school, they use Zello. And there's certain requirements within Zello that they complete assessments. So we have, and this is something that we can certainly share if you're wanting to look at. So the CISA's worked on activities for each grade level for ACP. So they're monthly activities, or actually more than monthly, sometimes weekly activities if the district is able to devote that time. So they can use some ready-made lesson plans, if you will, with students. Some of those activities are utilizing Zello. Some of them are utilizing other formats. Most of them were developed during the time of COVID to help our districts try to continue to implement ACP, but they are tools that are continuing to be used. But what we're finding is as districts are getting a little bit more sophisticated in their work with ACP, they're adopting kind of their own thing. So there's some like staple assessments that they love, that they will always use. And sometimes they redo those things kind of as students learn and grow. Like let's redo your matchmaker assessment, which basically is kind of identified different careers and clusters. And then from there, then what they're doing is, maybe students are readjusting or what have you. The end product, some districts don't have an end product, which sometimes gets hard because then teachers don't really get buy-in from students because they're not seeing the reason why. So when we work with districts, and Stephanie can agree, we really try to promote some type of culmination activity when they're seniors. And that culmination activity is probably more what you're referring to, Todd. And it could look different at each district, but predominantly it is some kind of what we call portfolio. It might be a presentation of slides. It might be a electronic review of the things that they have done and talking about their plan moving forward. Some use Zello to house their portfolio. Some just have like a slide deck of like a template at the district level, and they say you have to meet these criteria for your presentation. Fill in, how you see fit, and then students kind of can take that in moving forward. So does that answer your question?
That helps.
Okay.
Helps. So if a business is interviewing, somebody who's graduated from high school or tech, or they said, "Can I see your academic and career plan?" There could be a multitude of things, yes, so to speak, that they might show them Zello, they might show them this culminating project or some other.
Yep.
Okay.
Exactly. You're not going to see the same product, throughout, and it might change, the same high school might change their plan, throughout. Sure. So you might see different versions of that in moving forward, but that's a very good question. So some districts, I know we talked a little bit about employability skills. Some districts have created like an employability skills rubric, and that employability skills rubric becomes, it's like, it can't really be a part of their report card per se, but it becomes a tool that students are, evaluated on, and that information is shared then with parents. Kind of it accompanies their grades or their report card, And that is a nice tool. Again, not all districts do that, but that is kind of paired with ACP. And many times employers, like, that would be a really great thing for you to be able to see. Like, let me see your employability skills rubric. Or if you know a student participated in youth apprenticeship requires the evaluation of 13 employability skills. So that's another really great tool to be able to say, hey, I hear you were in youth apprenticeship. Could I see your evaluation from your youth apprenticeship? And they should be able to share that with you too.
Good, thanks, Brooke.
Yeah. Other questions? Those are really good questions. So out of the conversations that we've had today, I'm just curious to identify, were there things, that little nuggets that you feel like you could take with you that will help you in connecting maybe a little bit differently with school districts, or maybe with your own students, Denise, on ACP or pathways, or kind of the idea of career readiness? And if so, what are those little things that you're thinking about?
This is Tara from the Mosby Chamber. I think certainly for me, well, personally, we have a 15-year-old daughter, so I will be talking to her a little bit more about this. But also just being involved with the school district and making sure, that these things are happening there. And, if that means that I have to go in and talk more about them, or have someone from there, it's hard to get answers from them sometimes on what they're doing, because I feel like they want to be doing it all, but it's hard to do that, like you said, with teachers and just their schedules for the day. But certainly we'll be talking to them, and hopefully we'll be connecting with someone from ACP just to see if there's anything that we can do more to help with that.
Sounds good. Another really great way for employers and business partners in the community to partner is mock interviews. So many times, like, the districts will host or be a part of a career fair, maybe that the chamber is putting on, and they want to take it a step further and maybe do some mock interviews or some job shadows with students. Those are excellent ways to partner or to offer support. So that might be a nice way to jump in, and so that you're not coming at it like, what are you doing for ACP? But yeah, I learned a little bit more about ACP, and I think a way I could really help you is X, and then kind of share it in that way, because then they'll be like, oh, okay, like you're not, just looking to be critical, you're looking to help.
Right. Great idea. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are getting close to time, so I think I will just give an opportunity then for us to, just really thank you for your participation. Again, I love these. I don't mind that it's a smaller group because we got to share a little bit more. So thank you for entertaining that with me, and hopefully you walked away with a little bit more knowledge. We will host, I know Angel probably has the date, but we'll host another event like this coming up on kind of the next level of career readiness to share with you too.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
6 is the next date. We'll follow up. So we'll actually send you the recording as a participant for today, and we'll also have it available on our YouTube channel, and we'll send you the event registration for the next one in the follow-up email as well. So thank you guys again.
Thank you. I hope to see you guys all in March.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.